Good morning, this is Judy Gula from Artistic Artifacts in Alexandria, Virginia. I cannot believe it's July 4th, 4th of July weekend. I don't know how time flies, but it really does move fast. And then, not only to give our time schedule a little bit of warp speed, all the fabric manufacturers start shipping you Christmas or holiday or New Year's. They start shipping us that now. It's like we're in July, but in their ultimate experience, they know that we need a little time to work on gifts. That we can't wait till the last minute, although I was famous for that. I used to have a box and I would have certain gifts pinned together and maybe not quite finished, but I would wrap them and I'd put them under the tree. And it would be kind of like an IOU that I'd get it back. So my family, when growing up, used to get unfinished gifts all the time. And they took it in stride. So we are at Artistic Artifacts launching our holiday season for July and August. And again, it's 80 degrees outside. And we're in an area that we actually get the seasons. So when it gets closer to the winter and the Christmas and the New Year's holiday, we will see a change and it'll be a little cooler. So have the air conditioning down low to get cold. We have holiday fabrics coming and projects. Again, I don't know about you guys, but my gifts that mean the most to me is something that someone has made me specifically for me. I tend to like to give gifts like that somehow I've made a connection in what I've created with the person. So a lot of times it's handmade gifts. What?
Titik said good night from Indonesia.
Oh, Chris is laughing, so I am like, either we've disconnected or something funny happened. Hi. Good night, Titik. Titik is in Indonesia, and she is the one that provides our handcrafted bags with our batik fabric, and we have those online. Very, very special family over in Indonesia, and we think of them always. So if you want to buy something that is already made for a holiday gift, which we will show you a lot of our handmade gifts in one of the other Facebook Lives going forward, because so we have the next 2 months planned out all around holidays, whether you're making them, whether you're buying them, and Titik has some beautiful products to offer as gifts that are already made. Today, what are we doing today? So I have a class that I used to do pre-pandemic that I created a quiltlet. So it's a little quilt, it's quick and easy, and it revolved around working with wood blocks and stencils. Again, one of my favorite tools is wood blocks. I actually use them more than I use stencils, but I do interchange them. And these are some samples of what we made in class. So everybody, we would spend the morning woodblock printing, and we would just print and print and print. There was, so everybody would come up with something different, but we call them quiltlets because they're on a piece of felt. So they're technically not 3 layers, but it's really easy to work with, and you can finish it. I'm all about finishing things. So here, this one is shells and blues, create. This was done with the alphabet quilt wood blocks that we have. This one was creating from stencils. So we printed the stencils and things. So that was one way of using them. And as I say, and I know you have heard this before, is a lot of times I just like to print. I don't know what I'm going to use them for, but I have stashes of words and ideas and pictures, and so that's a stash drawer for me. And then I can pull them all out together and use them. So these are, again, this is more stencils. So if you love stencils, this is the idea too. And then this one over here is wood blocks. And again, if you hang out in India at all, you know that lots and lots of things are done with paisleys. Paisleys is a pattern that's been around for a very, very long time. And this is kind of an idea that maybe I'm gonna work on. So these are perfectly fabulous, not linked to any holiday, just a nice, cheerful, some gift that you can give to somebody anytime, yourself included. We always can give ourselves gifts, so we don't have to wait for that. And my challenge today was to go from this to be more holiday oriented. So I have picked a couple of holiday fabrics. I've done a quick, some stamping, and I'll do a quick stamp so that you get the hang of it. We do have a video that is on our woodblock page and on our YouTube channel that talks about how to work with woodblocks. Pretty easy, instant gratification. So you're looking at these pictures. I'm going to show you my blooper after you see these, okay? Pretty cohesive. I found that I used red paint, so all my fabrics are pretty much red. This is blue. I have my blue fabrics tie it together. And these, working with the stencils, are color, but what ties them together is that it's all black and white fabric. Black paint, black print, black and white fabric, and that was how I was able to work the colors into there. So that's a little quick design thing. So I'm going to show you my blooper. This is really bad, but the feedback that I get is that you want to see where I started. So this is the finished product. Okay, this is really embarrassing. This is what I started with. So you have to make art, and sometimes you have to make bad art or stuff you don't like, because of course the only critic we believe in is ourselves. We're our critic, to get to something that works. So you see there's no cohesion here. I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to use all these bright colors. There's no design elements. There's no, it's a riot, and it makes my eyes hurt, and okay, that's enough. But I save it so you can see where the concept started. Not so pretty. And that's, everybody is okay with that, okay? And then we come up with these, but it took a little while to get there. Doesn't just happen straight out of the gate. So hopefully I saved you that experience, and now you can go right to this. Okay, so the other thing I want to tell you before we get started, we have a woodblock shipment that will be coming. It just left India. I was just actually received a message this morning. So in that shipment, we have some new Indian fabrics. We have some additional canthas that are coming, which we have sold on our Facebook Live. But the important part is that we have our holiday woodblock set coming. Mushrooms are coming, herbs are coming, Christmas trees, snowflakes, so those are on the way. So the product that I'm using in this demo is not quite in stock yet, but it's coming. So don't forget, so write your list, put your wish list in your shopping cart, and we'll get that to you. So it is just left, so week to 2 weeks is about how long it takes. All right, so let me review woodblock printing first. Oops, you know what I don't have? I don't have a piece of white fabric. Oh, yes I do. All right. I got in early to get myself organized, but obviously I wasn't all that organized. So we get these samples of things that, and I'm always looking for white fabric. I do print on shirting, I do print on other stuff, but for our purposes today, when I'm working with a pattern, I want it to be simple. It's got to be clear. We have a very small space, so we can't be really detailed. If you get it, please post. If you make one of these, please share with us on Artistic Artifacts Creative Minds. We want to see what you're doing, and we want to see what happens in response to our Facebook Lives. All right, so I worked on some, these are snowflakes, and those are the ones we're going to use. And I kind of think of silver and blue with snowflakes. I'm not quite sure, but so I have a little bit of our fluid textile paint. And then we have jars. So there's a little bit more of a pudding feel to this. It's definitely, it won't pour out of a tube, so there's a difference in the paint thickness. And this is a little bit of pearl, which seems to be very dried out. So acrylic paint is water-based paint. So it works well with water, and then the fluid is okay too. So I generally...
So the paste ones,
Yes.
what types of, I think you have 3 different types of paint. What's the difference?
Okay, so we have transparent, opaque, and pearlescent. Transparent is that you can use, you can see through the paint to the bottom layers. This is using opaque. So opaque means that you can't see through the paint. Pearlescent means it has a little bit of metallic. So when I'm working in my journal, I have a tendency to work with opaque on the bottom, but I'll use transparent on the top because I want to see those layers. Does that make sense? Okay. So again, I'm using a sponge. People ask me, can I use a brayer? I have not had success with a brayer. I like the good old sponge. Put it down, put my weight into it. You notice I have this $4 foam mat, and that makes all the difference in the world. The reason why you need the mat is because the wood block doesn't give. With a rubber stamp, which you can use these paints with rubber stamps fine, no problem, but the rubber stamp gives. So when you're using a wooden block or something that's hard, then your surface needs to give, and you need to make sure that you have this. This is the most important tool you can have. So I would just print the wood blocks and just keep going, and maybe I'll do a Christmas tree or a holiday tree.
I think someone missed it, but they wanted to know what you're using as a print pad.
This print pad is a piece of foam that we sell. It's not the really, really thin foam that you can find in Michael's. It does have some dense to it, density, and it needs to give. Okay? So I'm going to do a little bit of a tree. When you're working with the fluid textile paints, they come in red, yellow, blue. I'm just using these tubs, which come in a larger variety of colors just for ease. A lot of times I mix my paint from the fluid, and the fluid or the other ones work. Both of them work. All right. So we are going to come over here. I've did some of these in advance, and Kyle, see this? This is part of my scrap bin. So I tend to try and keep pieces and strips that are easily done. There is not Misty Fuse on them yet, but when I use them in my collages, I will put it on there. So I try, you know, I have a scrap bin just like everybody else. So here is a piece that I did with my snowflakes, which I just showed you how to do that. Then I used my words with my wood blocks, which I did not show you how I did that. I generally don't grid anything or line it up. I just kind of eyeball it and go. So there was just happened to be a fold in this fabric that helped me, but generally don't worry about it. And then this is, yes, so there's the woodblock set. Alphabets, I think we have coming in as well. So my next step is that I'm going to put Misty Fuse on them. And I want to make sure everybody knows about Misty Fuse. It's really a wonderful, easy piece of fusible to use.
Before you mention Misty Fuse, there's a question about how you clean and when do you clean your blocks?
Okay. When? We are using water-based paint. So we actually can use them with soap and water. There is some specific instructions. I take like a big brush. You know, I started out with a toothbrush, then I went to a nail brush, and now I use these big brush. And so I will take running water and brush them. They never come clean again. But the thing that's nice about them was, you know, everybody always told you rubber stamps you needed to clean right away because you don't want the paint or the ink to change the print. Well, these are carved pretty deeply, so they can handle a lot of paint without messing with your print. I don't soak them in water. If I get really worried about how clean they need to be, I'll do a pan of Murphy's, which is a wood cleaner, and I'll put a little bit in there and I'll put it face down, then I'll rub it. These have some oil on them when they first come to us, and that's to protect the paint from sinking into the wood. And so the oil is there for that purpose, and it does make it clean. But I've had wood blocks when I traveled and did shows and we did demos. I don't know that they ever were washed or cleaned.
Les Liz did them.
Yes. All right. So I am going to, I am working on cheap felt. It's you know, craft felt, whatever. For some reason, piles and piles of this end up at my back door. So it also gives you a nice small space to start. Okay. So Misty Fuse. Yeah. Misty Fuse is my first fusible that I use most of the time. So it's light, it has no paper on it. I'm sure there's people that work neater than I do, but I want to make sure I'm covered. Thank you. All right. Now, it's hard to see, so I iron. Hopefully my iron didn't shut off. They use a goddess sheet. So I always make sure I have a large enough goddess sheet so that I have them on, I have it top and bottom so you can see it. So I have 2 layers. We love Misty Fuse for a couple of reasons. The production of fusibles, when you add paper to them, and of course, you know, I do use some paper. I love Steam Seam too, light, which has paper on it, but I try to use Misty Fuse first. Environmentally, It's not as good for the environment, what the process of adding the paper to the fusible. I don't know the details, I'm not a scientist, but that's what Misty Fuse tells me, Iris tells me, so I believe her. The other thing is it's a very lightweight, so I can fuse a heavyweight suede, wool felt to silk, and it will hold. The fusible will hold. So it has a wide variety of uses. You're supposed to let it cool before you peel it up. That's always my hard part. I try and peel them before they are done. So I have that piece, and then here's my words. Sometimes I'm not. My precision. You can see my fold, my The other thing that I like about Misty Fuse is sometimes when I've over ironed Wonder Under, it actually melts off and it stops working. I don't use Wonder Under at all anymore. So if you iron it and iron it, it will go away. With the Misty Fuse, that does not happen. And yes, I have done that many times.
Are you using a dry iron or steam as it's steamed off?
It's steam, but I want to say I'm not really good at reading directions, but I think it doesn't matter. It's worked. Most of the time my iron is steam anyway. Okay, so see if I can do this facing you. So this is going to be my top. This is going to be here. And I do cut my pieces with a ruler because I do want the straight edge, which I should do with this one, but okay. This should probably be cut again because I've got fusible on there. And then I'm going to put, oops, I'm using the wrong size. Oh, that makes a difference. Never mind. Let's try again. All right, I think this will work much better. I did measure my bottom pieces and cut them first so that I generally don't like fuse a lot. I fuse as I use. So let's see. This is a Jennifer Shampoo fabric that I think was. Yeah. This is my favorite piece of fabric out of that collection. All right. So let's see. Yeah, I'm kind of being a little nutty here about that. All right. So I got it the way I want. I have fused my pieces. And I'm now going to fuse my cotton to my felt. And yes, you can hear my cruddy iron fusing away. The other thing that's nice about Goddess sheets is if your iron is really messed up, it's going to keep the mess off your stuff. And our irons are not pretty. So. There we go. So that's our little quiltlet. Okay. The next step. Let me just, sorry, I'm coming over here. Poor Paul doesn't know where I'm going. So I'm going to show you this trick that Etta taught me. So I take a square. This has fusible on it. So I'm going to take a square, 2 squares, kind of. My precise measurements, as always. And I'm going to go here. So I'm going to make a triangle so it's nice and strong. All right. So I'm going to trim this here. I don't worry about putting it in the back. So I will trim this. Then I'm going to sew it. Let's look at one of the other ones. And I'll show you what I mean. And I use generally a zigzag, but I also did some free motion. So here on this one, you can see I just used some free motion to highlight the stitching around the stencil print. And then here I use zigzag. And if you look here this way, you can see this is just a zigzagged around. All right, I'm going to turn it over, but we can't see it because it's black thread on black felt. Let's see. Ah, here we go. This you can see. So what happened on this one was I zigzagged the edges. So here's a block of fabric, and I just zigzagged. Pretty basic stitching. If you have a favorite pattern stitch, which I know on Bernina's, there's lots of really awesome pattern stitching, pick any pattern that you want. Just do it in a thread that is cohesive with the piece, and it keeps everything in place. Now, and it finishes it off. No binding, no fancy finishes. You can hand stitch all of this if you want. You don't need a machine to do this. You can do it all by hand as well. Now, what these guys are for is this makes it really easy to create a hanger. So if I had been planned in advance a little bit better, then I could zigzag these pieces here on the top, and then a little dowel fits in there, and it makes a really easy hanger. And this is thank you to Etta. Etta showed us this one. So I will do that in the future. All right, so this one is ready for stitching. So I have all my snowflakes that to me look like stars. I have my starry night, and so I will actually do some free motion stitching on this. Probably will try to do it in a silver metallic from Wonderfill called Spotlight to highlight that. This is another one. This fabric we just received. It's going to be part of our Christmas holiday fabric. This is a wood block that was a tree, but this was the piece I wanted. And I didn't know what words I want to put on here yet. I'm not sure, but I think what I'll do is I'll take a piece and print the words, and I'll put it over top of this in the middle here. Now the other thing that you will see is I try to do this in thirds and not in half. So if I had done this in half, it would give a different look. So as a design element, I try to not put things in half. Like this is, if I fold this, here's my half, but my words are top and bottom. They're not just straight in the middle. So I tend to try to design things in thirds, not in quarters, not in halves. Are there any questions?
Yes. Cindy's saying, couldn't you have done that in one step by sandwiching the Misty Fuse between the fabric?
The squares, the ones that you use to hang them.
What? I'm sorry. I'm not sure I understand that.
I think there's two different questions.
Okay. Say that again.
One question is, couldn't you have just put a piece of Misty Fuse on the felt and put your fabrics on the felt?
Yes, you can do it that way for sure. Part of what happens when I start going is that maybe I do layers. So that would work for this one for sure. But then, like this one, I'm going to want to Misty Fuse the fabric if I'm going to put something on top of it. So I tend to work in layers as I go, but absolutely you can fuse your flannel and keep going. Yes, yes.
And then the other question was about the corners that you used, which if you want to just show on the piece with the trees and the
Okay.
fabric, yeah.
So what I would do on this one, because I've planned ahead, is so I would pin these here. And then when I zigzagged my edge, they would be zigzagged in place at the same time. Does that answer that? Does that clarify it? Okay.
It was also an overall question of how you would hang them if you weren't going to do something like that.
I tend to, if I don't do something with this, so this will be hidden, it'll be a dowel between these. So the other way that I like to do things is that I will use those rings that, I don't know what they were for really. Like, I think they're drapery rings or something, the little plastic tiny rings.
Cafe curtains.
Yes, right, cafe curtains, Chris said. And so, but we used to put one in the middle, and that's not good enough. You really need to do two things. You need to hang it from both sides to keep this edge straight. I have stuff out there that, you know, I kind of put one hanger in the middle and it wonks.
Push pins work.
Push pins work, yes. Push pins work. So, what other questions are these? Are great questions. Everybody good? Okay, so to wrap up, this is the beginning of our holiday season, July and August. And we will have projects. We will also incorporate them into the newsletter, the Facebook Lives, and show you how to make some personalized, unique gifts, as well as buying finished unique gifts. So that's what the plan is for the next 2 months. We have our Facebook Live on the third Thursday, which will be a selling event. And I am in the midst of creating some treasure boxes with Japanese fabrics. So, and I will also have those, as well as I've been on the hunt for some really cool stuff for the mixed media treasure boxes. So I have some fun things that I found. So that will be in the evening. We start at 7 o'clock, and it is a purchasing event, and we will be showing you what it is.
July 15th.
July 15th, so mark it on your calendar. We will definitely share it with friends. This really helps us bring to you product that we can't quite get on the website, so it's really a special availability of seeing some things that are unique to the store shopping environment. We're bringing them to you. Okay, so to make room for the holiday fabric, we are having what I consider a blowout sale. This is the lowest price I have ever sold fabric at. We have a collection that's called Modern Cottons that is online. Whether you're local, whether you shop in the store, whether you live far away, this is an online event only. 25% off Modern Cottons and what is already in our sale section. The coupon code is Fireworks. This will work until midnight Monday night. And we will only, we won't contact you if we sell out of it. We're going to refund it. First come, first serve. We will send you what we have. or put the note in there that please cancel if you want a specific amount. We have already an influx of orders that prevents us from that checking with you and swapping out stuff. So you have to understand that this is a really big sale for us, and that we're not going to be able to offer you that swapping and switching and things. So please use the notes that are on the order form. Okay, what else did I? Next week we will be looking at fabric bowls. Again, I have a unique off-the-cuff way of making fabric sculptures, so I'm going to show you a little bit of that next Saturday. All right? Please join us in social media. Please let us know your comments. We love to hear from you. Join Artistic Artifact Creative Minds, and thank you for joining us today. We'll see you later.